Hey guys, Matthew here, and today I want to bring you guys a very special video. So what I'm going to be doing today is actually interviewing a friend and community member of mine who actually succeeded in something that's pretty difficult. He was able to self-farm a headhunter in the first less than 2 days of a league. So 40 hours is how long it took him actually, and that's not actually all playtime. As we'll see later on in the interview. So I'll be asking him some questions regarding basically his league start, what his idea was, what his strategy was, how he came up with that strategy. The idea here is I want to give you guys a different point of view from myself when it comes to how to league start and how to really try to push for content and for currency as fast as possible. Because as a solo player, less than 2 days for a headhunter is, like I said, it's very, very quick. And the guy is super cool. So huge shout out to Quiddy, and thank you to him for actually allowing me to interview him. So I'm in a Discord call with him. This is going to be a voice chat only video, really. You're not going to be seeing anything of value. So you can, you don't have to watch, really. You can simply listen. All right, let's get to it. All right, I'm back, my dude. Hello, hello, test 1 2 1 2.
Hey, hello.
All right, hello. So, Quiddy, should I be calling you Quiddy, or what's your real name?
Yeah, Quiddy's fine.
Quiddy's fine. I like that name actually. It's a very ironic name due to your actual level of gaming, if you will.
Yeah, just
So,
old nickname.
old nickname. Got you. Randomly generated World of Warcraft nickname kind of thing. No.
Yeah, basically the same.
Got
Yeah,
you.
it's really similar to my real life name.
Oh,
So,
nice. So, what was your first PoE league?
I started in Betrayal the last week of it, but I didn't make it out of the Axe. My Val Double Strike Witch, but the real first league was Synthesis.
Real first league with Synthesis. And what was the first league you actually earned a mirror?
That was also Synthesis, my first real league.
That's actually pretty impressive to earn a mirror on your first league, considering most players will never have one ever. Was that a did you drop one, or were you that lucky, or did you buy one from grinding, or maybe both?
I dropped a mirror, farmed 2 headhunters, and then invested in the synthesis crafting, and ended up crafting a +1 gems explode bow, which I then sold for 5 mirrors.
So pretty successful for a first league, if I do say so myself. That is a pretty crazy first league. All right, well, moving on. Let's head on to this league at this point. So what was your actual league start build, and how long did you stick with it, and did you ever end up respecking it at any point in your push?
Started Stormblast Mines, and then switched into Elemental Bladefall Blade Blast. And then right before Katava, I switched into Poison, and that carried me to pretty much T16s.
And how fast was that? How long did it take you to actually get to maps?
Maps was about 3 hours, 20 minutes to maps, but I had a trader trading for me, so I
That's
skipped a couple of the bad passive points like Ugle and
okay. So still sub 4 hours is absolutely insane. I have to say that's like nearly Tai level of speed right there. That's pretty nuts, man.
he didn't have a trader though, and he was still 20 minutes faster.
And that was how much practice went into this?
I practiced probably about 30 hours, I'd say.
That's
I
actually
practiced racing before though.
that's still 30 hours is not a lot of practice to get
Yeah,
to speeds
yeah.
speeds nearly as fast as one of the best racers in the game. I have to say that's actually insane. That's faster, I feel, than most of the groups, which get to actually skip most of the things in the game. So, damn, crazy, dude. Good job there. And what was your goal upon reaching maps, actually?
The goal with maps is just to hit the 4 corners as fast as possible, so you can get the Conquer quest line started, and then you transition into Leapfrog after you hit all 4 corners.
All right. And when you say get into the 4 corners, what strategy do you actually use in there?
You can Horizon Orb any tier 3 map, or you can just hope you get lucky, pretty much.
Is that what you did? Did you use Horizon Orbs a lot? Because you did quickly mention that you had a trader, actually.
Yeah, I used Horizon Orbs pretty frequently whenever I had any problems with Atlas.
Okay. And what were your initial purchases actually when reaching maps, or in the early stage of your mapping, like your priority stuff, I guess?
I didn't buy anything on the way to maps, but once I hit maps, I got a tabula and two obliterations, and then to saved up for inspired learnings.
Okay, so inspired learnings. I like that strategy. I like that. uh, when pushing maps, did you interact with any league mechanics or even like full clearing maps, or did you actually just kind of like push to the boss? Because I've heard before from my friends who started in group play that sometimes, especially in duo, they would literally just have the carry rush to the boss and not even clear most of the maps just in order to try to go up in maps as fast as possible.
Yeah, I tried to progress as fast as I could. So I went in full clear. I'd clear a good bit, but full clearing is not worth it. I'd rather make less profit then and get to end game faster.
So let's say there was, would you say there was like 50 plus monsters left in even most of your maps?
Yeah, it depends on the map layout. Like toxic sewer is fine, but I'm not gonna full clear like desert.
Makes sense. Cool. Pushing Atlas actually can be pretty expensive early on. As you mentioned, you'd rather not make any currency. And obviously, if you're buying Horizon Orbs and stuff like that, which are pretty expensive early, there's a lot of costs that go into that. So you need to be able to afford a lot of mapping materials to keep going up in tiers. So what would you say was your main income generator when pushing the Atlas? Did you still have a trader kind of doing it for you? Supplying you with things like Horizon Orbs, or at that point, was it just on your own?
Yeah, it was mainly just chaos recipe. So I'd do chaos recipe. I had a couple good drops. I had an unending hunger and 1x, which is more than enough for all the Atlas supplies you need to get to reds.
Yeah, actually, how much was Unending Hunger? That should have been pretty expensive this league.
2x, I think,
Oh
or
wow.
1x. Yeah,
Still,
I forget.
that's actually
I,
a pretty nutty league start. Actually, pretty good.
it's not bad.
All right. Typically, when you're pushing your atlas, you need to manage many things at once, actually, and it can become overwhelming. So, as I was mentioning, did you have anyone helping out? And if so, for how long? Like, did he push you all the way through your headhunter, or was it like just very, very early?
Yeah, this is my bud Doxy Cat. He's there, shout out. Anyways, it took about 2 days. He was with me. He helped me with all the early upgrades. So I said, I'm missing 30 fire res. Can you give me an amulet with 30 fire res? Just stuff like that.
Okay, so he wasn't doing like most of your funding, like currency related, just kind of helping you out to try to get you items.
No, he's just buying and selling items for me. He wasn't sniping or flipping. He's still somewhat new to the game, so
Okay, just kind of try to help you go as fast as possible. And all right, cool. And actually, how much of an effect do you think this had on your push? Let's say you went fully solo. How much time extra do you think this would have taken?
he sniped and inspired learning for 1x, so he saved me at least an X there. And definitely a couple hours in the long run over the course of 2 days from trading, because every time you trade, you have to leave your map or, you know, you lose those seconds and minutes add up.
All right, so you'd say it's actually like a pretty good thing and a pretty big thing if you're capable of having it like a buddy who doesn't mind being a little bit slower, or just maybe that you actually pay him in the end game, like at the whenever you get to the end of your
Yeah,
push. Okay,
yeah.
so buying up for a trader is actually worth it early. Which do you know? I guess you said it was your buddy, so you wouldn't be aware of like any place where you could find a good trader or something like that.
I've never had any good experience with that.
All right. Did you ever get stuck in like Atlas progression at all?
Yeah, I bricked my atlas at the start. I accidentally ran a 2 stone map whenever I had 1 stone, so I couldn't spawn the hunter guy in my 1 stone region. So I had the horizon or T8 maps to try to. It was so scuffed. I lost like 30 minutes doing that.
Okay. And did that actually like, other than the 30-minute loss, did you ever get to the point where you just like didn't have maps to drop? Because I hear that a lot from people. Like, yo, I'm stuck in like white maps or something.
No, white maps and yellow maps are basically just alch and go. I don't transmute. I don't see the point in transmuting when you can just alchemy. Like your build should be able to do it.
Right. I agree. Um, and we actually saw you as the first person to enter the Cyrus fight in the entire league. So you beat even, like I said, some of the fastest racers in the game who were competing against you. So congrats on that. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, I don't know how I was faster than everyone. After messing up my atlas and yeah.
I guess those obliteration pops really did carry.
Yeah, poison BF BB with obliteration plague bear is pretty fast.
I agree. I agree. And the initial Cyrus is around the time when you get to the end game. So we're talking T14, T16 maps, right? Awakener 5. So at that point, did you just like stop your progression, or do you actually think there's any reason whatsoever to go for Cyrus 8 other than to say, hey, I have Cyrus 8 unlocked now?
Yeah, unless you're farming Cyrus for whatever reason for Awakened Orbs or something, my strat didn't involve him because I need 3 stones in each region so I can drop as many burials as possible so I can sustain them. So anything past 5 is pretty irrelevant for me.
Okay, so you got to Awakener level 5, and then you just dropped all progression and went straight to what you were planning to farm, which, as you just mentioned, was burials.
Yeah, right after Cyrus, I went straight into completion, so I got 130 completion for Beyond.
Okay, that's actually what I was just about to ask. My next strategy was whatever you do the leapfrog strategy, which is something I have covered in another video about how to progress your Atlas as fast as possible. Doesn't that lead to like a very low Atlas bonus?
Yeah, it does, but you can fix that with Xana missions. So you buy out Xana stock of any maps you don't have completed, and then you run a Xana mission which refreshes her stock, and then you buy them out again.
Okay, and whenever you did that, right, a lot of the time, especially early on, you probably ended up with some pretty lower tier maps. So would you actually like run those completed, or just like rush straight to the boss, kill whatever's on the way, and that's it?
I just rush straight to the boss, unless it was like a really high tier map, like a T14 or something. I wouldn't full clear.
So even say early red map, you're not caring for that at all?
Yeah, unless my map pool was like extremely rough.
All right, cool. And at this point, you're probably done with Cyrus. You have all your necessary watch zones and progression to sustain your strategy, which is burials, so long as you invest properly. And that's actually another thing I want to talk about real quick, is a lot of people tend to have issues with sustaining whenever they're in their Atlas, be it in white maps, yellow maps, or red maps, or even pushing or getting stuck. So what do you think is actually a proper amount of investment for, say, white maps, yellow maps, red maps, and then like the high tier T14 plus red maps?
Yeah, you should definitely be using sextants. They help a ton. Chisels if they're cheap. Obviously alchemy. You should vow red maps, even if it has a chance of breaking to like reflect or something. You can just sell it, but you should vow them so you can get the completion and
So,
just farming
oh,
completion.
right, farming
Which is,
completion. So, for
yeah,
example, you mentioned that there's no reason to transmute, so you would alk your white maps, your yellow maps, reds, basically every single map you would alk.
yeah.
When do you start using chisels and vowels? I think you said vowels and red maps. What about yellows? Are you putting anything special there?
Nah, yellows you can pretty much sustain with just completion bonus and alchemies, so
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
I can go white and yellows, and when you get to reds, you start putting a little bit more juice with those vowels and those chisels.
Yeah,
And those sextants, do you actually start using them as early as beginning of red maps, or like you keep them for later?
it depends on the price. Sometimes they're really cheap on League Start, but I'm not gonna pay like 2 to 1 C or something.
Okay, so how cheap would they have to be for you to actually consider buying sextants for as low as T11, T12 maps?
If I could get them for half a chaos, I probably would.
Okay, so 2 to 1. Yeah, that makes sense. I would agree with that. All right, well, we've pretty much covered the bases in terms of the Atlas and your league start. So let's get to that Headhunter, which you farmed in 40 hours, actually. 40 hours of league time, not play time, which is something to note. So what was your actual method of obtaining it? Did you go for cards, or did you just outright buy the Headhunter?
I bought it with cards. That was the best ratio. So I checked the patient ratio, the nurse ratio, and then the outright headhunter. And doctor was the cheapest, so I just got doctors.
So you actually considered going with patience.
Yeah, if you have a trader, there's no reason not to, right?
That actually does make sense. Quick question about your trader. I know you said he was a buddy of yours, but did you actually pay him for any of that, or he was just kind
Yeah,
of?
I'll pay him at the end of the week whenever I start making good currency.
And what kind of payment can he expect?
He's only helped me on the first 2 days because he has work. So I don't
Right.
know.
I'm not asking to blast you on
Yeah,
how much you're paying him, but more so because a lot of
yeah. I
people
think I'll
probably think that it's very expensive or maybe very cheap. To give them an idea of what a trader, if they themselves might want to be a trader and advertise for being a trader, it's actually a decent way to make currency if you can be a trader for somebody else who's going to be doing a lot for you. So
Probably
that's
give
what I was
them,
asking.
yeah, like 5 chaos, I guess. Somewhere
Five
around there.
chaos sounds like an actual pretty decent wage. I'm not gonna lie. That does sound pretty
I'll,
good.
no, I'd probably give them like 15, 20, 30x, somewhere in there.
That's a pretty, like I was saying, that's a pretty good salary for somebody who's just helping you out for buying your fire res amulet and selling your unending hunger. It's
Yeah,
pretty good.
exactly. Have to wait to a headhunter.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, absolutely. And what was the cost of that header? Actually, we didn't even mention that.
I bought the cards between 5.5 to 6.5x, so 6 times 8, 48.
That's some quick maths, and that's actually a pretty good price, I think. Back when I started playing this game, had doctor cards on day 1, day 2 would actually be 4 exalts. Damn, I wish those days were still upon us, but it's been a while
Yeah,
since then. But I'd say 6x a pop is actually a pretty decent price for recent leagues. That's somewhat even cheap to some
yeah.
extent.
I'm surprised they aren't higher.
Yeah, especially due to the ritual league mechanic being so monster killing intensive.
Yeah, no easily accessible nemesis on Xana. You can do infused, but that's not really practical for groups,
Yeah,
at least now.
that was a little unfortunate. I was kind of sad when I saw that. And no delirium, but we're not going to go there. That's just going to make me cry. So, what method did you actually earn the currency from? Was it just blasting? You did mention you had a trader, but he didn't really flip or trade much. He was just buying and selling stuff for you. And you mentioned that you didn't really stop anything, so you were just full on blasting the whole time.
Yeah, it was just get the T16s as fast as possible. If you get the T16s, basically everything in there is worth like 2 or 3 chaos. Like a hubris helm with 84s, that's 4 chaos. I wasn't buying that stuff though. My goal was just to get poison sexton up and running as fast as possible to farm deli orbs.
Which, by the way, I have a video about poison sexton abusing. If you're interested in understanding and learning the strat for how to self-poison, it can give you upwards of 1200% increased damage and 600% more move speed, which is absolutely insane. So check that out if you are unaware of that, how that works. But so you mentioned basically mapping a lot of bases and stuff like that. Actually, a lot of people tend to believe there's not much currency to be made in maps. What would you say were actually the biggest money makers? Because you did mention bases, but you're not going to buy a headhunter off of selling 5C bases or doing the chaos recipe. So what do you think was like your biggest sales?
Yeah, my biggest things was the new Atlas Ascendancy, Persecutory Delusion. It has 100% increased drop rate from bosses. So if you run, what is it, like 40% Delirious, that's like guaranteed 50 splinters a map. And then Hollow Palm and Calamitous Vision Jewels were both 1x. So I probably made 20x from that. So Simulacrums. And then Elder Scarabs with for bleed bow bases. So like level 83 bow base. Those are easily 1 to 2x.
Wow.
There's no easy way to get them.
So you're basically forcing mechanics via Delirium Orbs and Scarabs is basically what you just said. You're using Delirium Orbs to get that 40% since we don't have it on a map device. And you're using Elder Scarabs to try to get those Elder bases, especially those bows like you mentioned, as early as possible.
Yep.
And
Much.
any bow was selling for these exalt prices?
Yeah, Highborn, Decimation, sold both of those for over an X. Citadel for 2.5x.
Wow.
Multiple of those, yeah.
So that header did pay itself pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, and then even other small bases like Elder Helms were selling for 20C. Just pretty much anything.
Yeah, I guess having burials as a natural T16 did help us this league, not having to use any unique watchstones to boost up the level. Having that natural item level 83 goes a long way, especially in such a good map, right?
Yeah, exactly. You always had the chance of dropping a doctor, even though I didn't.
Actually, Nicholas and I both did, so joke's on you. But how much would you say you'd be willing to pay in order to actually keep blasting? So, for example, let's say a Scarab is 1C for a single Elder Scarab. How much would you be willing to pay for 10 of them at a time? So, the time that you're saving, not going to 10 different people, how much is that worth in your book?
As long as it's profitable, I buy in bulk. So as long as I'm not losing currency, I'll do it, basically.
Okay, and so for example, if it's 1C for Elder Scarabs and they're as high as 3 or even 4C each, so long as the excellence is showing that it's profitable, then you're going to go for it?
Yeah, if I can buy like 20 at once, definitely.
All right. So if anybody's wondering what Excellence is, I'll have a link in the description. It's essentially a tool that allows you to track your currency gains, which is using the API to calculate the value of your stash tabs, and it updates every so often. So it's a very, very valuable tool to have whenever you're trying to keep up with if you're making money or losing money with your strategy. All right. So delirium mapping is pretty rough. Even 20% adds a pretty significant amount of difficulty. So how did you manage? Now we actually kind of went over that. You said you were using the poison, sex, and abusing for your damage, but survivability wise, a blade fall, blade blast, poison character is a pretty squishy one. So what do you do in order to make those maps happen?
Yeah, so you just run Poison Sextant, 2 Inspireds, and then you put Beyond on there because Beyond gives you a lot of speed and survivability. And then you just try to juice your map as much as you can to try to take advantage of the inspired learnings and just loot as fast as possible, and skip Kosis, and then be aware that you're gonna die a couple times a map.
Every single map, yes, you will die. I mean, that's what happens when you're in a tabula farming some of the highest content in the game. I don't think anybody is going to be surprised that you will die. So no, this is not a softcore, a solo self-found hardcore strategy viable. That's not going to happen. But the fact that we can even do that and that we have builds available that are capable of farming like Delirious that early on a tabula is pretty astounding, actually. Was there ever a point actually that you ran out of anything? So for example, those scarabs you were mentioning, those delirium orbs, because obviously there's API issues. We've had those all league start. It's been pretty rough. So did you ever run into any issues where you're like, yeah, I just can't buy anything. I'm just MIA, not doing anything?
Yeah, I didn't really have problems with that because you could still buy items on the trade site because it was just offline. So I actually got better deals while I was that. You just couldn't sell items easily. So I had enough currency, so it wasn't really a problem.
Okay, so there was really no downtime. It was just blasting the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's pretty awesome, actually. Actually, one thing you didn't mention when it comes to currency making is what about those regular rares? Did they make you any currency? Like mediocre life and res gear sells pretty well early. So did you actually worry about any of those, or you just don't even have them on your filter?
I don't even have them on my filter. I probably should. You know, it's pretty inefficient when you could just have a dumb tab with like just set the 5C and just ID them all, but I just like the map. I don't want to do all that.
Okay, so you're just kind of going to those maps as fast as possible and going for those more consistent money makers, like those elder bows or those simulacrum splinters, even, and not worrying too much about anything that would actually cost you some time.
Yeah, whenever you're making crazy profit per map, you don't have to try to milk every single chaos out of the map. Just do as much as possible, as fast as possible.
You did actually mention that you were skipping Kosis. Isn't that kind of a big deal considering he's the one dropping you those jewels from that node you were speaking about earlier?
No, I was doing him on 40%. It's extremely tough. Some maps I couldn't do them. Like if it's a 70% life map, I couldn't do it. So I would start rolling over any tank mods on the map.
Okay, making sure that the mods are actually doable for your build. But
Yeah, exactly.
that does make sense. And what about anything else? Any, like, obviously you say you didn't drop any doctors, but did the Lee mechanic offer you any good deals, or do you drop a bunch of exalts? Because obviously their maps have a decent amount of monsters in there. Anything else other than what you mentioned?
Yeah, it's pretty much just 6 Raw X, simulacrums, elder bases, and that's pretty much it. And the unique cluster jewels.
So pretty standard stuff. Nothing too crazy. That being said, 6 Raw X is actually pretty nuts. That is quite
Yeah,
a bit of raw exalts dropping there.
I would have taken a doctor over it.
Yeah, Doctor would have made up for more than all of those exalts put together. That's actually true. Um, so obviously that wasn't a blind venture, right? You had a plan going in there, and can you explain us essentially the reasoning behind your choice of Delirious maps and Elder Scarabs and like the preparation that went into it? I know we spoke about the 30 hours when it comes to leveling practice, but what about, for example, like what made you think, okay, Delirious is going to be good this league, and Elder Scarabs, put those together, and we've got a recipe for success?
Yeah, it's the fact that there's no Xana Delirium on the map, so I knew there was only one real option to do that. And then I was control Fing the patch notes for Sexton, just praying it wasn't gonna get nerfed, because poison Sexton abuse just basically makes your build. 3 times as strong for one sextant.
Yeah, that's actually true, and it lasts for 3 maps, so it's actually kind of worth rolling. Do
Yeah.
you, on average, I'm not sure, actually not on average, but total, I'm not sure if you know, but do you know about how many maps you ran from beginning to end? Those Delirious maps, not the ones before that, but
The Delirious maps, probably like 100, 150 if I had to guess.
okay, so you're speeding through them quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so like I was mentioning, 40 hours from league start, but not 40 hours of actual playtime. So how much time did you actually sit there and play for that 40 hours?
I played the first 24 hours on league start just to get everything set up. I slept 8 hours and I played another 8 hours.
And that was your headhunter right there.
Yeah, the first 24 hours I had my 2 inspireds, my build set up with my maw, and I had one doctor card. And then after I woke up, I had everything set up just to make 7 doctor cards in the next 8 hours.
So if we say that 40 hours is a full-time worker's week, somebody working full-time for a whole week, then that means that technically any player who plays for about 2 hours a day should technically be able to get their headhunter within less than a month or so, right?
Oh, less than a month for sure. You just have to play efficiently and know what you're doing, have a plan.
And that applies to pretty much anybody who plays this game. No, even without the practice and such, if you follow in these different Atlas strategy videos and you know what you're doing with your build, poison, sex, and abusing to get the required damage, pretty much anybody can get there in less than a month, right?
As Tai Tai says, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just yoink someone else's strats, see what they're doing, and use them as your own.
That actually, I agree with that. And otherwise, what do you think would be the most important like qualities or skills a player would need to actually replicate what you did, like outside of being able to play a lot?
Yeah, it's just willingness to practice. Look for strategies, efficiency, knowing what's best, and just knowledge on the game to know what's worth it at what time.
Quick question regarding to what you just said. What about those strategies or knowledge about the game? Like obviously there's videos and people outright telling you strategies, but is there any like more obscure things that you think people should maybe look into in order to try to find out these different strategies, or you kind of just look at patch notes and just go by feel?
Yeah, you can look at patch notes, go by feel. You can try to sort by currency to see what the top players who have the most exalts have. So if you go on the trade side and see someone with a 500 exalt stack and live search him to see what he's doing.
That's a very good strategy. Something I've mentioned in one of my earliest videos. I'll go ahead and showcase real quick how on the trade side after we're done here how to do that, exactly that, because this is actually still to this day something I do, even if a lot of people consider me to be one of the biggest earners in the game. So it is a very good way to just yoink some strats, as you mentioned. Well, that's pretty much all. I think that answers all my questions realistically. Huge thank you for your time. You've been here for half an hour, not blasting maps. So thank you for your time. I think this is going to be super helpful for a lot of people. And if you have any closing words, maybe a shout out to yourself. I don't know if you stream, have a Twitter you want followed, anything like that.
No, I don't got anything like that. Thank you for the gear last league, though.
Okay,
Very
that's
nice.
that's just toxic. That's just toxic. For anybody wondering, what he means is that Quiddy is actually the guy who won the coin flip against me for my 20+ mirror ore stacker. So I lost my whole build, and he doubled the value of his. So nice guy, Quiddy. I honestly didn't think I would ever be interviewing him, but what do you know? After eating up my whole build, turns out he can actually get himself a pretty quick headhunter. So, well,
Yeah,
again,
I mean, all that gear is like 10C on standard now, so it's fine. We both
I
lost.
I agree. We actually both lost. I was laughing at that. I was kind of laughing at you when I saw the patch notes. But
Yeah.
again, thank you for your time, and
Yeah.
hopefully a lot of people get to learn from this interview, my dude.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, peace out, man.
Peace.
All right, so that was Quiddy, the man, the myth, the legend. Actually, I was really surprised that he said he would agree. A lot of people tend to not agree when it comes to sharing their strategy, especially because a lot of people are very competitive when it comes to making currency, but he just outright said yes. So like I mentioned, I will go ahead and show you guys how to essentially quickly catch up on what other people are doing for currency. So you can actually go on the official website here and just type in, say, Exalted Orb, which is typically the currency that people have the most of, and just search that. You can go on any to see both offline and offline, and then you can actually press tax size, and you will see the people with the most amounts of exalts. Now, note that this is not 100% accurate because obviously this is only pure exalts, and this is only people who have their currency public. So anybody who has their currency not public will not show up, obviously, and anybody who has their currency in items, headhunters, mirrors, whatever, will also not show up. But it's still a very, very good method of being able to catch up on what other people are doing for strategy. But honestly, that's pretty much it for this video. We've been going for long enough. Before I go, though, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters: Cluzy, Lero, Gaikona, JW Player, Scott, Justin, Alex, Ollie, Matt, Kevin, Bit, Axel, and Hayden. So anybody else who wishes to remain anonymous, and anybody else who has supported me in the past. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this interview. Let me know in the comment section. Obviously, this is my first time doing anything like that, so, you know, first time, a little hard, but that's okay. If you guys enjoyed it, maybe we'll do some more with other people who have different strategies in the future. And yeah, on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.